With permaculture, of course, you've got people care and earth care. We're going to talk a lot today about people care, because I want to cover some of these, the nutrient contents of all the food we've been eating. Come close, all part of it. Because a lot of the perennial veg we've been talking about, and the reason for why to grow perennial vegetables overall. You can go into the agricultural systems. We've been involved now about 10,000 years. We've been growing annual crops and doing a wonderful job at it, but it's stuffed the planet up. And what we've got over the last 50 years, we've reached the crisis where we get a lot of the varieties of what we used to grow have disappeared. In fact, 75% of all our agricultural crops have disappeared in the last 50 years of the diversity of crops we used to grow. And so what we're trying to do here at Edible Forest Gardens is promote all the old-fashioned crops that people haven't heard of and keep the diversity going. So a lot of these sort of things we're going to be talking about are old-fashioned, and a lot of them are new cultivars that have been crossed with old stuff to try and keep the diversity going, keep us healthy as far as humans too, because as you know, we're using the old, what's become a traditional way of growing food is chemical based, and as permaculturists you know pretty much across all that it's just no way. If you put chemicals in, you're going to get chemicals out, and we're seeing the results in our health system right across the planet. It's just not all about, it's not looking after the planet, not looking after the people. So because you guys are mainly across that, I won't go into too much detail, and we'll start talking pretty much straight about the plant material that we've got to show you tonight. We're going to talk a lot about the perennial onions and the multiplier onions, all those sort of things. Now, all perennials are basically, instead of what we do in traditional monoculture crops, that are growing from seed, whereas these guys are all grown from other plants, so they're multiplying out. And the reason they're doing it is they're a lot simpler, but they're not geared. You won't find them pretty much in typical supermarkets because they're just too expensive for people to grow on that sort of acreage that they're talking about to try and get the quantities they want to give us. But the downside is, for example, like your shallots, which are these guys. This is, there's a shallot. This is a golden shallot. We've got red shallots, golden shallots, and about 4 varieties of shallot that we've managed to salvage from around the place. We're still collecting. If you have a look in the catalogues in Europe, for example, particularly France, 50, 60 different cultivars, all with subtle differences that they use in their cooking. Really, really interesting different flavours that are not promoted. You know, there's a lot of interest in food now, so we're getting used to it. But like the shallots are a fantastic perennial veggie. You like planting one, you'll get between 1 to 7 new bulbs will spring up from that one bulb. So, and then you just harvest them. The way to grow a shallot, they're very similar to potato onions, which some people might have heard of. And there's not a lot of difference, they're interrelated, but how you grow a shallot is you plant it about 1/3 of it above the ground and just a little bit higher, and then they grow from there. But why would you grow a shallot? Because they've been propagated and used for the last 2,000 years of just replant and replant and replant, we haven't stuffed them up. They've still got all the nutrient levels in them. They're really, really, really good for you. In fact, compared to the normal white onion, they've got 6 times more phytonutrients in them. So they're a lot healthier for you than normal onions. Right. They're a bit more expensive, so I recommend growing your own. But you should be able to find a spot to grow some shallots. And they're dead easy to grow. Absolutely dead easy to grow.
They're good for people on a FODMAP diet too.
Absolutely.
People who can't eat white onion. Or my daughter's like that, but she can eat spring onion.
Yeah, it's brown. Well, that's the other thing. You can also use the tops. You just cut the end of the tops, and you can use those like a normal spring onion. If you can, don't try and get the later in the season. Don't hit the main stalk because you can set the plant back. But they're really, really easy to grow. and the time when you plant them on the shortest day and you harvest on the longest day. So they're easy, just easy. We've been growing them as a side issue. We've been growing them in Australia. They were originally brought to us in the first fleet. Joseph Banks actually put these on the boat and brought them out there. So we've had a lot of history in Australia growing shallots. So, but they're almost gone. You don't see them a lot now. They're almost going to become extinct. So it's up to us to get some of the cultivars and propagate them ourselves. They're very, very close to the original plants. I think that's the main emphasis about a lot of this sort of stuff. They're because we haven't genetically manipulated, particularly onions. Like in America, for example, their onions have got 40% sugar. They actually eat them more like you go to the onion festival and they put them on sticks like this and eat them. They're that sweet. And so all that goodness that's usually in an onion, all that, it's gone. They're gone. And so they're breeding it out, breeding all those things out. Just crazy.
I've noticed that I use about a third of the amount that I would use from onions.
Okay.
To get a nicer taste.
Yeah.
And the same amount.
Same amount. Yeah. Exactly. So worthwhile on all those sort of levels. They're just a fantastic plant to grow. Potato onions is another very, very similar species. You can see there's quite a difference between the two. They're a little bit more like a hollow tube. And the main difference between the two, they are very closely related. Again, potato onions, I think they've been growing here since the 1800s in Australia, but they go back centuries in Europe and things. I think they're from Asia. What's that? Yeah, you can do it. Not all the onions you can. Again, though, with the central tip, try not to let that go. Now, the difference between a potato onion and a shallot is potato onions are called potato onions because they grow underground. So they're planted actually just under the surface, and they'll multiply out from that. One potato onion you can get 10 to 20, so they really multiply out quite quickly in a season.
What's a walking onion?
We'll get to that.
Oh.
But thanks for asking.
I was just wondering which was one of those.
So when you say, John, the central tube, so
that's that one there. You see that?
just
Yeah, the
leave
tiny
that,
little one.
Or would you leave that whole thing? Or would you
Yeah.
cut
Well, that was just one small bulb, for example. So you can see what's happening to that now. That's already 4 plants in there. All right. And so if you did cut it off up here, but you wouldn't towards the end of the season. You just got to just be wary of that.
Would you harvest? So would you harvest it as you would regular onion?
Regular onion, just dig them up. Yeah. So they're a plant and replant perennial.
Okay.
That's the main thing with those.
And
But they're a bit of a trick too.
Yeah, you'd have to divide it, wouldn't you?
Divide them up. Yeah.
And do you replant it straight away, or do you've got it?
You can. You can. What I do in the forest garden system, we just as I'm digging, put them back in, and they only grow about this big. So, but there's a bit of a trick to them.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's a bit of a trick to them. If you get a small bulb like that, they'll produce 1 or 2 large bulbs. But if the next season you plant the large bulb, you'll get 10 to 20 small bulbs. So they alternate. So you'll have multiple clumps of different sizes within the group. It's just the way they grow. So it's a bit of a trick. Again, you plant them around that sort of time. Seems to be we use them quite a lot. And there's a real difference in the actual bulb between the two. Is these tend to be a lot more rounded, so they're really quite round in shape. So they're virtually like that. Can be a little bit flat on one side, whereas your shallot's sort of more that sort of shape. But there's quite a difference between them. And unfortunately, no one's done any testing on what's in them because there's no information on the net that I can find, if anybody comes across it, what the nutritional value is and things. But because they've been cultivated, they don't set any seed, or very, very rarely. So again, we haven't mucked them up. So the phytonutrients and all those sort of goodness and the antioxidants in these guys would be really, really high. But there's no information. So but certainly, because they're unchanged since ancient times, they should be better for us, based on what I'm reading. Yeah, you can get red, white, and yellow. I think we've only got the red and white. Any questions? Cool.
Oh,
When you plant them?
Is there a good time to plant them?
Yeah, same time as the others. Typically, longest day, shortest day. So harvest on the longest, plant on the shortest. Seems a bit to go. Really simple. This is one of my favourites.
So you couldn't harvest like with these while they're growing.
You
couldn't harvest
could.
any before.
You could,
that
like you
August.
do with the garlic, for example. You can plant garlic and harvest it even when it's this sort of size, without any trouble. But you won't have the bulb, and it'll be quite mild. So you could certainly do it.